I first became interested in environmental justice when I met a young Mexican farmer in the south of Mexico who had just lost his job as the farm he was working on wasn't producing enough harvest to employ him. The reason why the farm wasn't producing enough harvest was because the rainfall patterns for that year had been quite strange, unpredictable and short because of climate change, and that seemed like an injustice to this young man.
Because I've always been really interested in ecosystems and the natural world, and as I became more aware that the way we organize our societies and the way we organize our systems have a really negative effect on the environment, such as increasing pollution and habitat loss, among many other things, I wanted to know what I could do about it and where I could find answers on how to change, and I found a lot of that in the environmental justice movement.
Was the idea that people in other parts of the world are disproportionately affected by the negative impacts of climate change and overconsumption in the global West.
Primarily through school, I was completing a Bachelor of Arts in Environment and Urban Sustainability. In it, I learned a lot about environmental justice issues, kind of the plight and the destruction of capitalist expansion and corporate greed. I saw a lot of injustice there, especially when it came to the settler colonial project. Understanding a lot more about the conditions of life for Indigenous peoples in Canada has made me want to become a lot more politically engaged.
Is the negative overflow of news and bad news, especially, and social media, and I was just annoyed and bored basically by all the information, but also of course sad.
I was just tired of knowing that there were really horrible things happening to our environment and not doing anything about it. I was tired of just feeling frustrated, and I wanted to feel like I was taking a stand, or at least trying to make a difference. So I made the effort to become involved in as many protests and rallies as I can fit into my schedule, and also supporting organizations, and I hope to be able to do more in the future.
When I first started to really listen to the science and really appreciate the gravity of what scientists and certain politicians were telling us. And I believe that if you listen to this science and you listen to reason and logic, it will become obvious to you that it's your responsibility to stay and be active.
It was kind of like the will of not being stuck in a kind of pessimistic loop of looking at the world going down and seeing all the things, but basically just being able to share the negative causes and the negative things that happen with it.
Having been involved with various political movements alongside my mother from a relatively young age gave me a sense that I could and should positively and constructively engage with issues like environmental justice.
A couple years ago, when I helped to organize a peaceful sit-in protest at Bill Morneau's office. Bill Morneau is the financial minister of Canada. He had recently approved a pipeline expansion project that would essentially just devastate the land for generations to come, and we were about to move into an upcoming election. So me and a few youths from across Canada, we planned a National Day of Action, and that is originally how I got involved.
Is my girlfriend. So I would say also people who are more engaged into environmental justice, or people who are like hotspots, I find also very, very important in the movement, as in those motivations, or those energies that are kind of spreading knowledge, but also reframing it in terms of not being a fanatic tree hugging tribe, but also opening to a wider cause.
I also completed an exchange in the Netherlands, where I got involved with Extinction Rebellion, and that is also the first time that I was engaged in organizing blockades and swarmings and street parties, having much more public demonstrations and public speaking about these issues. That was my first time doing that.
The movement, and also seeing that where I live in Berlin, there's a lot of people interested in this topic and active, which kind of produced with the Fridays for Future movement, produced kind of like a obvious move towards this direction, because everyone was on the streets, at least from the people that I know. So there was there was a communal feeling of following the same path.
An accelerator to being involved in the environmental justice movement is the wide breadth of resources, digital, print media, education, even third level education in Ireland being free meant that I had a huge amount of leisure time to academically pursue my interest in environmental justice.
The accelerator is probably just knowing that I'm actually trying to make a difference and that I'm helping people who have the tools and who have the ability to make a change.
One of my obstacles now, I think, coming out of school for a long time was just being a student and having no time. Now I feel I don't have that constraint, but now I have to work full time, so time is a real barrier for sure.
We're mostly time.
Scheduling issues, mainly because it's really hard to balance school, work, a social life, and other responsibilities, all while on top of being involved. Also, location is sometimes an issue because a lot of the events and organizations are downtown, and it takes me a while to get down there, so that's always a little frustrating.
Hypermobile expectations of the contemporary world, where workers are expected to be extremely flexible, and in my chosen career path that means having moved quite a bit, even in my 20s, which makes it hard to root myself within any one specific movement.
I guess a consistency and a kind of normality about it. I mean, it needs an impact to work.
Also, energy. I have noticed in the last 2 years of activism and organizing direct action, I go through periods of extreme fatigue. I go through periods of burnout, and I need to rest extensively for sometimes up to a month before I can reorganize again. So that is definitely a huge barrier to getting involved, but also to staying involved.
I'm a white, young, middle-class man, and that affords me the education and the privileges to stay aware and stay active in the climate movement.
I think I have very few actual concerns that are life-threatening, so I'd say also as a white guy I have more time and more space to be concerned with things that are a little bit more abstract than just the daily concerns of earning money, health, and environment. I would say I'm more free to act in this way.
And I would say also just being a woman and coming of age in this society, I mean, still experiencing oppression at the hands of patriarchy. And I think one of the first times I ever went to a really, really massive rally was the Women's March, and I saw everybody coming together, and I found it really, really inspiring. And I think that is also one of the pivotal things that have led me to get active and be active in my community, and to try to uplift other women and try to connect with other women. Extinction Rebellion in Toronto has a lot of men as well, so that's something that we navigate, and now we have a women's group. So gender definitely plays a role in the kinds of activism that I do.
But really it's my upbringing.
It's my upbringing.
My upbringing.
And my parents have taught me to be compassionate and to care for other people.
My parents are very conscious about ecosystems. They were always very passionate about conservation.
As a child, I was constantly taken on camping, canoeing, hiking trips, and when I wasn't, I was in the garden at home or playing in the grass or playing with insects.
I was taught to recycle properly. I was taught about the importance of protecting animals. So a lot of my activism growing up was centered around nature and non-human animals.
It's a huge part of my upbringing, and the natural world is very important to me on a personal level, still to this day.
Which has really instilled in me the values which allow me to stay active in the climate movement, even in a comparatively small way to many other admirable members in the movement.
Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you have a good day.